Hello everyone, I'm Van Hargis. Today we're going to talk to you about bits, and we're hopefully going to eliminate some of the myths and misconceptions about bits. And to start with, we're going to talk about the three major types, and we're going to put these things into maybe a big category, if you will. First of all, let's start with a snaffle. A snaffle is probably one of the most common bits that we use, but at the same time it's also one that's probably the most misunderstood. We think of a snaffle bit, which is something I'm holding here. We're thinking of a snaffle bit as something that is mild and gentle and a bit that's meant to be used on our horses in their, say, the beginning stages of their training. And sometimes horses stay in these things for the entirety. However, what makes this a snaffle bit is just this. A snaffle bit is a snaffle because it's what they call 1-to-1 ratio, meaning that it's a direct bit. If I pull back with 1 pound of pressure, then that's exactly what the horse feels in his mouth. Therefore, that's what makes the bit seem to the horse as if it's very mild. It can only apply the amount of pressure that we apply to the bit itself. So again, if I pull back with 1 pound of pressure, that's the only amount of pressure the horse feels in his mouth. Now I'm going to talk about another misconception about snaffle bits. If you'll notice, both of these are what we call two-piece snaffles, meaning that the bit itself has got two working pieces. We've got one side, and then the other side, it's broken, if you will, in the middle. And that hinge is what allows the horse to feel that direct pressure. Now, the misconception is this. Regardless of the mouthpiece, meaning you could have a 2-piece, you could have a 3-piece, you could have a solid mouthpiece, regardless of the type of mouthpiece that you have on this bit, it would still be a snaffle. Because definition-wise, a snaffle is what we call 1-to-1 ratio, or a direct bit. A Kerb bit is one that basically has a Kerb strap. We have one here rigged. This is a very common design of a typical Kerb bit. The reason I chose this one is because it's still got a broken mouthpiece. Now, what makes it a Kerb bit is, again, it has a shank. We're going to introduce the shank to the horse for the first time here. Therefore, we'd like a fairly small one, short shank, and a Kerb strap. The purpose of the Kerb strap is this. If I put the bit on the horse's mouth, the Kerb strap would be under his lower jaw. The bit, of course, would fit in his mouth and over the lower jaw. And as the bit begins to activate, if you'll notice, that Kerb strap's going to come tight. And when it comes tight, it applies pressure down on the bit mouthpiece itself and onto the bars of the horse's mouth. So that's the whole purpose of a Kerb strap, is just to allow for a stop, meaning that when we go to pull on the bit, that bit's going to rotate to a certain point until the Kerb strap stops the bit from rotating. As we continue to add pressure, then that pressure is going to be applied to the horse's lower jaw. The last one in our categories is this. And it's kind of a Hackamore type situation. We think about our bits as this. We have snaffles, Kerbs, and then lastly is a Hackamore. Now there's a traditional Hackamore. Some of those might be referred to as a bosal, or to be technically correct, a bosal. Bosal is more of a caro, kind of a California type style. It come to us from the Spanish, from down south. Over the years we've learned to mechanize these, and so we call it a mechanical Hackamore. Okay, and what that means is it's no longer made of the traditional materials that we had in the past. It's made now of, in this case, leather, and of course we've incorporated the use of our metal. In this case, it's stainless steel. Why stainless steel in this case? Because number one, it's extremely durable, it's easy to clean, it's going to stay nice and shiny, and it's not going in the horse's mouth, so we're not worried about salivation at this stage. But at this case, this part here, the nose band, fits over the horse's nose. The Kerb chain, or Kerb strap, goes under the horse's lower jaw, and as the shank gets activated, it applies a stop. In other words, as that activates, you can see this part elevate. It's going to apply pressure to the horse's lower jaw, and the more pressure is applied there, then it's going to put pressure on the horse's nose. Okay, so it's like pushing those two things together, the lower jaw and the nose together, to kind of help maintain a little bit of control. At the same time, you still have a little bit of lateral movement on your horse with a mechanical Hackamore. So the three basic types again are this. It's a snaffle, a Kerb, and a Hackamore.